विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्वोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ Verse 244 द्वैतेन हीनमद्वैतं द्वैतज्ञाने कथं त्विदं चिद्भानत्वविरोध्यस्य द्वैतस्यातो समे उभे. So Vidyaranya established that this knowledge of faith is non-duality, knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of the self, which is nothing but a nishaya of a self, the swarupa of the self. One can arrive at through Mahavakya Vichara, and which will be the cause or karanam for the moksha. So Dvaita Nishchaya is basically a cause of a bondage. Dvaita Nishchaya is already there because of the ignorance is anadi, and therefore that Dvaita Nishchaya, which is based on ignorance, also is already there. And so what we are supposed to do is Advaita Nishchaya, and that can happen with this Mahavakya Vichara. And so, author said whether we are samsari, aham baddhaha, aham muktaha, etc., is all purely based on purushartha. Moksha is not a prarabdha phalam. That's how it is not a karma phala. So even Bhagavan also cannot, Bhagavan cannot give you moksha. Bhagavan can give you other than moksha. Everything he can give. He gives punyam, he gives artha kama, everything he gives. Ultimately, yoga kshemam vahamyam. So, but moksha he cannot give. Suppose if he desires, still he cannot give. It's one's own sarupa. One should know. One should know that I am free. So what is already there, Bhagavan cannot give. Anyway, so whether I am a samsari or mukta, all depends upon my own nishchaya. If Dvaita Nishchaya, then bondage. Advaita Nishchaya means I am free. Then all these things discussion was there, very big discussion, and then the student was listening, and then he raised certain problems. He asked certain questions. That through Mahavakya Vichara, we definitely get Advaita Jnanam, but we don't have a Advaita Nishchaya. That's what he is telling. So Jnanam is there, but ascertainment that yes, Advaita alone is true, non-duality is the truth. That is not happening. That can happen only by experience of a non-duality. So Advaita Jnanam is there, but Advaita Nishchaya can happen by Advaita Anubhava. So by experience of a non-duality, yes, then you can say, yeah, so non-duality is now. So I clearly know that non-duality is the truth, etc. So for that Vidyaranya says, that how do you say that Advaita Nishchaya is not there? How can you say that? He asked to student. And then because Advaitam means Atma or Brahman or Chaitanyam. And Chaitanyam is your direct experience. So no one can say I don't experience Chaitanya. In fact, all experience takes place by Chaitanyam. No one can deny it. Any experience is possible for a conscious being. A inert thing cannot experience anything. And therefore, before any experience happens, you already experience consciousness. So it's a direct experience. Consciousness is a direct experience. So you can't say that, well, I don't experience this consciousness, non-dual consciousness. How can you say that? The student says, please try to understand my question. You are you are a teacher, it's fine, but then you are replying very hastily. I am saying that direct experience of consciousness is there, but direct experience of a non-dual experience, consciousness is not there. Direct experience of consciousness is there, I accept. But you are giving me a teaching of not a consciousness. You are giving me teaching of a consciousness as a truth of the creation which is non-dual. And therefore Advaita Jnanam you are giving me. And that consciousness happens to be the non-dual. You are saying Ekam Eva Advitiyam. So well, then my Nishchaya regarding this non-dual consciousness can happen by experience of a non-dual consciousness, not just consciousness. So that is I accept that this consciousness is aparoksham, that it's a matter of a direct experience. I mean, I can understand that. But Advaita Nishchaya I don't have because I don't experience a non-dual consciousness. That is the problem. So he clarified his own question. So consciousness is all the time experienced along with other things. Naturally, that's what we say. All this creation, everything is that you say that is consciousness. That is consciousness. Or a thing is illumined because of consciousness. Thing exists because of consciousness. So every object is associated with consciousness. That you are saying. And therefore consciousness is all the time experienced along with the objects. I am saying I want to experience consciousness non-dual, no objects. And therefore still it has not occurred, still I am not able to experience such a non-dual consciousness, and therefore I cannot ascertain that non-duality is the truth. So this is what he says. So I all the time experience consciousness along with the thought. Let's divide into two. Consciousness is experienced along with the thoughts and objects. Along with thought, you have pratibodha viditam madam. Right? Pratibodha viditam madam. Every thought becomes a piece of knowledge, cognition, perception because of consciousness associated with it. And therefore, I want to get rid of all thought and objects and everything and just pure non-dual consciousness I want to experience. And that is not happened. Therefore, even though I have Advaita Jnanam, you have taught me a lot, but then Advaita Nishchaya I am not able to do. Very beautiful. This kind of discussion is not there anywhere. I have not found. In fact, in other granthas also. Anyway, so student says, well, Dvaitena Hinam Advaitam Bhavati. So now is Advaitam. What is Advaitam? So, Na Vidyate Dvaitam Yatra Tad Advaitam. Where Dvaita any duality will not be there, that is Advaitam. Dvaitena Hinam Advaitam Bhavati. Dvaiten Hinam. What is Advaitam is Hinam. Without what? Dvaitam. And you all the time tell me consciousness is associated with every object and every name and form, or every thought. I am telling you I want to experience just pure consciousness without object. Then it becomes non-dual. And I want to experience that. But about that you are not saying anything in the teaching. That is what is. And therefore, this kind of a problem, he raised this issue. So, Dvaita Jnane, Katham tu idam Advaitam syat. Dvaita Jnane sati. Well, so when I experience a second thing along with the Chaitanyam, how can that consciousness is Advaitam? So, Dvaita Anubhava is all the time there. So, I can't have a Advaita Nishchaya. I can do Advaita Nishchaya based on Advaita Anubhava. You will be asking me, I have a Dvaita Nishchaya. That is true. I have a Dvaita Nishchaya based on Dvaita Anubhava. You cannot deny, I cannot deny Dvaita Anubhava, experience of a duality. You will also have a Nishchaya of Advaitam. I also have a Nishchaya of Advaitam. But Nishchaya of Advaitam is based on experience of a non-duality. And that is not there. So all this teaching is very beautiful. Vedantin teaching is really very beautiful, but it is lip service. Unless you don't experience a Advaita, how can you have a clear ascertainment or a clarity regarding non-duality? And while I don't have Advaita Nishchaya is bound to be strong. And so even before coming to Vedanta, I was having Advaita Nishchaya. And your teaching has not really threatened Dvaitam. Even though you are bouncing a lot, but it has not really. So, how can you say my teaching has not, teacher said, how can you say that my teaching of Advaitam has really not threatened your Dvaitam? Because once I get up from your class and just I go out and I see things are different again. So before I entered to the class, I was having a Dvaita Nishchaya. Once I get up and go out, and when I see my chappal, then again feel the chappal is different and I am different. And therefore Dvaita Nishchaya has not been threatened by your Advaita teaching. Whatever you say, we have to add a few more things in there. Vidyaranya says or not, but we will have to say. But this is a big, in fact everyone has that kind of a doubt. So, all this have not replaced, all the teaching has really not replaced the Dvaitam. I come with Advaitam, I listen to your Advaita Brahman, etc. And at the end of the class, I again have Advaita Nishchaya only. And therefore, Advaita Jnanam is already there, but Advaita Nishchaya cannot happen. So, I remain successful, samsari, etc. So, he says, Chid Bhanam to Chid Bhanam. Chit Bhanam means experience. Chit, consciousness. So experience of a consciousness. Asya Dvaitasya avirodhi syat. So experience of a consciousness which is direct. Well, but it is that is Dvaitasya virodhi. It is not opposed to Dvaitam. Because my Dvaita Nishchaya has not been threatened by the experience of a consciousness. All the time I am experiencing consciousness. And Dvaita Nishchaya also is there along with. Therefore, they are avirodhi. They are not opposed to each other. So, subject-object duality, etc. remains intact. Only thing is, before the class, I was saying only subject-object duality. After the class, I said, subject-object duality also is there and Brahman also is there. Fine. Self-evident Brahman, self-evident consciousness, which is directly experienced, which is aparoksham. Fine. So one more factor I will add. Subject-object duality remains as it is. One more factor. Brahman, consciousness, aparoksham Brahma. I added that. No problem. And so this is, or you may say, no. You should understand. See, what happens is this Dvaita, varieties of the names and forms, etc. are there. That is true. But then, basically, this consciousness is not a product property of this all names and forms. It is not a product property of the body. It is distinct from the body. It is distinct from the body, but at the same time, you will say the body is non-separate from the consciousness. Yeah. So how will I experience? Because your body is non-separate, your mind is non-separate, your senses are non-separate from consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is all the time associated with the names and forms. Consciousness wants to be independent. He is getting suffocated. But these names and forms says, we will not leave you. And therefore, I want to experience non-dual consciousness. Apart from this subject, object, all duality should go. Pure consciousness. Just consciousness. Chid prajnana ghanam. Mass of consciousness I want to experience. And so ataha asame ubhe. Oh, he's very smart. He says, I remember in the previous verse, you have given me an example. So I will tell you that what is the example we gave, and so he's now telling, he is giving us back. So, your example, he says, student tells to teacher, your example and my example cannot be equated. See, in previous shloka, there was a discussion, and then student said, I have got a Chaitanya Jnanam. I have got a knowledge of a consciousness, etc. But it cannot give me Advaita Nishchaya, etc. And why? Because Chaitanya Jnanam is there, but Chaitanya Jnanam is partial. So I experience a consciousness which is not Advaita, and therefore it is our experience all the time, along with the body, along with the senses. We discussed last time, along with the prana, along with the everything. And so Advaita Jnanam is not Purnam. So consciousness I experience, but not as a non-dual. Then we said, well, you have a partial Jnanam of a Dvaitam also. Right? You don't know the entire world. World is Dvaitam, but you don't know entire world. You know a part of the world. Still you have a Dvaita Nishchaya. You have a partial experience of a Dvaitam, and therefore still you have a Dvaita Nishchaya. Then you have a partial, you have a experience of a consciousness which is partial. Then why don't you have Advaita Nishchaya? We said like that. Both are samam, both are equal. So then he is now telling that don't say that your example and my example is equal. Why? Because basically student says with partial Dvaita Jnanam, Dvaita Nishchaya cannot be disturbed, is not disturbed at all. But with partial Advaita Jnanam, Advaita Nishchaya is disturbed. Because since there is a second thing, Advaita Nishchaya cannot be possible. So if Chaitanyam joins to Dvaitam, all these names and forms and world, Dvaitam is not disturbed. That's what you are telling also. This whole creation is all pervaded by consciousness. So if Chaitanyam joins to the world, to Dvaitam, well, Dvaitam is not disturbed. But if Dvaitam joins to consciousness, Chaitanyam, then our Advaitam is disturbed. Right? So if Dvaitam joins to consciousness is as though divided. That's what you say, every name and form is pervaded by consciousness. Every name and form. This, that, everything. So therefore Chaitanya is all the time, even though everything is, consciousness, Chaitanya is joined to all this Dvaitam. Definitely it is Advaita Jnanam is disturbed. Advaita Nishchaya cannot happen. And therefore your example and my example cannot be said equal. Ataha asame ube. Asame. They are not equal. Don't say. Partial experience of Dvaitam leads to Dvaita Nishchaya. Then, O student, partial experience of a consciousness should lead you to Advaita Nishchaya. You should not say. He says that. So, anyway, because consciousness is all the time obstructed by Dvaitam, names and forms. So disturbance is caused by Dvaitam, and therefore, so Advaita Nishchaya cannot happen. Then somebody was listening, and he jumped into the discussion. He said, why are a teacher and student, why are you fighting like this? Unnecessary. There is a way out. I can understand from this, a student is very committed actually. And he wants to gain moksha. And for that he wants to have a non-dual experience, right? And then only Advaita Nishchaya can happen, right? Yeah. Teacher is telling, yeah. Okay, there is a way out. There is a way out. What is the way out? See, a human being is given 3 states of experiences. We want to have Advaita Anubhava, right? Let us talk about first 3 states of experiences. In Jagrat, that is not possible, that there will be always Advaitam, and therefore non-dual experience will not be possible. In Swapnavastha also, there is always Dvaitam, and therefore non-dual experience will not be possible. In Sushupti, no knowledge is experienced at all, no experience takes place at all, no knowledge possible, And therefore Sushupti also is gone. So Sushupti, of course, there is no Dvaitam, but then no knowledge also. He wants to experience a non-duality, but that is not possible in deep sleep state, and therefore that is also gone. So nothing to worry. We have a fourth state of experience called Turiya Avastha is there, and therefore one should go to Turiya Avastha. One should gain knowledge. A student should gain knowledge from you, O teacher. He should gain knowledge from you. First, he should gain Advaita Jnanam, and that he has already that knowledge. Now he has to go to Samadhi, definitely, and therefore in that avastha Advaita Anubhava will be possible, and therefore then because all the thoughts are eliminated. When thoughts are gone, where is Dvaitam? Thoughts are gone, no Dvaitam. How can you say thoughts are gone, no Dvaitam? That is what the deep sleep state is. In deep sleep state, mind resolves, no thoughts. Then you don't experience other than you anything. Nothing. Of course, in deep sleep state, you don't know yourself also as Advaitam, but basically thoughts gone, duality gone. And therefore, Turiya Avastha is a one which is distinct from the Sushupti Avastha, where in fact all thoughts are resolved and yet you are awake. You are awake to that non-duality, thoughtless state. You are aware of that thoughtless state called Nirvikalpaka Samadhi. And therefore, the fourth state, Turiya Avastha is possible, Samadhi is possible, where one can definitely have an experience of a non-duality, and then he can have a Advait Nishchaya also very well. So I am trying to solve, oh teacher, I am trying to solve your problem. You are not saying to him that you should go to Samadhi, etc. But I am telling him. Then we said, give microphone to us. Then we said, this Nirvikalpaka Samadhi is not logical. For what? For what not logical? Not logical for what? For Advaita Anubhava. Why? What happened to you? Well, it's a big topic, right? Because it's in Advaita Vedanta itself is a big controversy. Many people have this confusion that suppose one goes to this Nirvikalpaka Samadhi, remove all the thoughts, and then remove all obstacles, all Dvaitam, then definitely there will be Advaitam, etc., experience of a non-duality. We are saying even if you remove the thoughts, but thoughts have a corresponding objects. Every thought has an object. What about the objects? Thoughts are gone, correct. What about objects? Non-duality means what? Everything should go, not just thoughts. Everything should, objects also should go. And so, how can negation of the thought be equal to negation of the objects? A person who goes to Samadhi has eliminated thoughts, that's correct, but not removed objects. And so, Dvaitam is there even in a Samadhi, because objects will remain. And therefore, Advaita Anubhava, definitely cannot. Advaita Anubhava means other than consciousness, no thought, no objects, nothing. You are not able to understand. That person says, elimination of thought is elimination of object, he says. So you need not eliminate objects. You eliminate thought. Means a object is already, the corresponding object also is eliminated. Then we ask, do you really mean that? That elimination of thought is elimination of object? Do you really mean that? Suppose you don't think of your bank balance, jewels, etc. You are in a Nirvikalpa Samadhi. You have gone to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. You have removed all the thoughts. And so, thought of a bank balance, thought of your jewelry, thought of your house, thought of your Maybach Mercedes, everything has gone. So do you mean objects are also gone? Do you think objects are also gone? What about black eyes? What about the blind spot while driving? Could you follow what I am saying? Ah, what is blind spot? Means in your mind a car is not there. Do you think it is really not there? And if it is really not there, you drive on the first lane from the second lane. Then we will realize what happens. Yeah. A thought of car is not there does not mean a car is not there. Person wants to cross the road. Lot of traffic. He says, well, I am going to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. For me, now no car, no trucks, nothing is there. Let me cross. He just remove all the thoughts of all vehicles. Well, he will be able to cross. He will be in the hospital. Yeah. That is what is happening. People always, give me a caution. Swamiji, take care in winter while walking. You may not realize that there is a black ice. You will see just... So in my thought, there is no black ice. But black eyes make me realize that I am there. That's how it is. So basically, this is not true. Elimination of thought is elimination of object is not true. So definitely, in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, one eliminates all thoughts, correct. But corresponding objects are there, Dvaitam is there. And therefore, going to Nirvikalpa Samadhi and having a non-dual experience, well, that is not correct. Anyway, so Nirvikalpa Samadhi can remove thoughts but can't remove objects. Chaitanyam continues to be there along with the objects also. So where is Advaita? So Samadhi brings in a Advaita Anubhava is illogical. So, and we don't require Nirvikalpa Samadhi also. We are leading the whole discussion towards something on which the whole Vedanta is standing. That's all it is. We are leading the whole discussion towards something on which whole Vedanta is standing, really. So anyway, so we don't require Nirvikalpa Samadhi for Advaita Anubhava because we don't accept it as a logical. Naturally, question comes. So, but I want to have Advaita Anubhava. Advaita Jnanam is there. And then what should I do? Should I remove thoughts and objects both now? That is not possible. Thoughts you can remove. Definitely, going through Ashtanga Yoga and going to Samadhi, thoughts can be removed. No one can remove objects. No one can destroy Jagat. No one can destroy. It is impossible. It's impossible. And so, and so removing objects and thoughts and everything and arriving at a non-dual experience is impossible. Non-dual consciousness experience is impossible. Physically impossible to remove objects because it is impractical. So, okay, then how to arrive at Advaita Nishchaya? Vidyaranya gives a very beautiful answer in 245, but in brief I will tell you first. He says you can arrive at Advaita Anubhava by understanding, the everything other than consciousness is as good as not there. Then you have listened, but still you may feel, what he is telling, I don't know. What is he telling? So this is, you don't want objects and thoughts, etc., right, to experience non-dual consciousness. Yeah. So you can arrive at this Advaita Anubhava by understanding that everything other than this consciousness is mithya, as good as not there. So you don't and cannot negate Dvaita. Objects, thoughts, etc. Well, maximum you can negate your thoughts. And that is also not negation of Dvaitam. So our aim is basically negation of Satyatvam of objects and thoughts. you don't require to negate the thoughts and the objects. You definitely require a misconception that the object and thoughts are real. That's all. So if they lose reality, means they are not there. One need not destroy all the waves in ocean to arrive at a non-duality of water. You should understand, this wave is as good as not there. That's all it is. Nothing is required. You cannot destroy also, in fact. No one can destroy a wave. No one can destroy. Even if you destroy one wave, a new wave arises immediately, there itself. So basically one should negate not waves, one should negate the satyatvam of waves in order to arrive at the non-duality of water. So basically the reality which is falsely attributed to the thoughts and objects is negated by understanding that they are mithya. After knowing them mithya, well, you will still have an experience of all the waves. Dvaita Anubhava will continue. This is a one type of wave, that is a different type of wave, that is surf. They have some names also. Breaker and surf, something. Some small ripple and everything. So they must have some names also for that. So that, experience of Dvaitam will continue. But the Satyatvam of the Dvaitam, Satyatvam of a maniness of the waves has gone away. Even though you experience maniness of the waves. So, otherwise, if you remove, basically, if you manage, let us say, to remove the thoughts, well, still it won't bring you Advaita Anubhava, because world is there. Thought and objects are. And at this point, I'm little diverting and trying to remind you that we did one sutra, Brahma Sutra, and in which, we were answering to Bauddhas, and we saw also, Vyasacharya ji has proved that object other than the thought or a mind has an independent existence. It's not that the projection of the world is not just projection of the mind. World has a independent existence compared to the mind. Not independent existence out of other than consciousness, but other than mind. We have proven while answering to Kshanikavada, etc. We discussed also that sutra from Brahma Sutra in 6 Indian systems of philosophy. I am just reminding you. Anyway, so basically thought objects are basically adhyasa on pure consciousness, and that I understand. Adhyasa, which is mithya, which is not there. I can say adhyasa means mithya, mithya means not there. Really, it is not real, and therefore it is not there. It is seemingly existent thing. So this is the right answer to arrive at the Advaitam. In fact, Dvaita Anubhava will continue, but in your understanding, Advaitam alone will be Satyam. So that's what he is answering in 245. Evam tarhi shrunu dvaitam asanmaya mayatvatah tena vastavam advaitam parisheshad vibhasate. So shrunu, Vidyaranya Swamiji says, shrunu. Here, evam tarhi, if this is your question, means how can a Chaitanyam be Advaitam as long as Dvaita Anubhava is there? If that is your question, O student, then listen. Dvaitam asat. And well, Dvaitam is asat, mithya. It's not there. Experientially it is there, but in reality it is not there. No, but what is experientially true, what you experience is real. Well, that is we have ample examples to say experientially things are there, but in reality they are not there. Thousands and thousands of things are there. Therefore, I experience duality, and therefore Dvaitam alone is a reality that you cannot say. You experience thousands of things. You need not even get up from your chair, and you can see in your around everything. Well, yeah, and which is experientially there, and the whole life it will be there. Whole life you will continue to experience, but it is still not real. So that kind of a thing is not correct, that I experience Dvaitam and therefore Dvaitam alone is Satyam and therefore Dvaita Nishchaya I have, whereas Dvaita Nishchaya I don't have, etc. That is not a criteria. So Dvaitam Asat, you understand very clearly Dvaitam is Mithya. You need not remove Dvaitam, you can't remove Dvaitam also. Maximum you can remove your thoughts. That's also Dvaitam, because varieties of the thoughts are there. So that you can remove definitely, but you can't remove objects. So that Sattvam, basically the reality attached to the Dvaitam, is negated. So that has been very nicely says Maya Mayatvatah. So whole thoughts and objects both are product of Maya. So here Dvaitam we have to consider both thoughts and objects both. So Maya Mayam, well it is so. So they are Mithya. So you continue to experience, thoughts, objects, everything you continue to experience. Reality attached to them should be understood as a unreal. Consciousness alone should be understood as a real. Okay, how many real are there? Well, consciousness is one alone, without second. Ekam eva advitiyam, and so Advaitam alone is real. It's a clean understanding. Anyway, two consciousnesses cannot be possible also. If two consciousnesses is there, one consciousness becomes subject and other becomes object. How can you say? Because how can you say second consciousness? There is a second consciousness. If you say, then that consciousness is become an object of your consciousness. And if consciousness becomes an object of consciousness, then that consciousness is inert. Anything which becomes an object of your knowledge or consciousness is inert. So there is one cannot prove there is second consciousness. One cannot prove. And therefore, there are two consciousnesses or many consciousnesses is impossible. So consciousness is one alone. That's a reality. Ekameva advitiya. So that's a whole thing is a cognitive process. We are saying to that person, there is no mysticism involved, no samadhi, etc. is involved here. And so that is what has been told even by the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also. Yam neti neti nigamaha avochuhu. Neti neti. So this, neti neti means this is not there, this is not there, means a reality of a thought is not there, reality of the object is not there, etc. etc. Reality of a subtle world is not there, reality of the subtle body is not there. One neti indicates that, second neti indicates reality of the physical universe and reality of the physical body, etc. also is not there. We can say either way. Two netis are there. So, or a reality of thought, subtle body, reality of object, physical body and physical world. So, what remains is basically after negation, what remains is this Adhishthanam Advayam Chaitanyam. Negation by, cognitively, that they are Mithya. Well, Tena Parisheshat, after setting aside this Mithya objects and Mithya thoughts, what is remain is this Vastavam Advaitam Vibhasate. This Advaitam which is Vastavam, which is real, shines, Vibhasate, shines. And that is what, you see, even we did in that Kenopanishad, Pratibodha Viditam Matam Amrutatvam Hivindate. Well, in every thought, this consciousness which is invariable is present, right? And therefore thoughts keep varying, varieties of the thoughts, but the consciousness which is invariably present in all the thought is one alone, because of which thought shines, because of which thought exists. That consciousness which is very sakshi of the mind or a thought is invariably present and all. And therefore understand that what is invariable is satyam. What is changing, what is variable is mithya. And in fact, what is variable borrows existence from the consciousness, shines on account of consciousness. And therefore, consciousness alone, so far as the thought world is concerned, well, we can very easily say that consciousness is a adhishthanam of all the thought world. Same way for objects also, asti, bhati, priyam, etc. Anyway, so this is a way we can arrive at Advaita Nishchaya also, in spite of Advaita Anubhava. You need not have to basically eliminate Advaitam. You have to understand the misconception. You have to eliminate, of course, eliminate the misconception that that is real. And say, give another example. Suppose that I am in a room. I am alone is there in the room, Advaitam. And then, definitely they arranged some 10 mirrors. And in each mirror there is a reflection. Then now there are 11 Swamis. And I have a misconception that there are 11 Swamis and I want to have Advaita Siddhi. I am alone there. Then I called 3 people. And to make me understand, that there is Advaitam alone, non-dual Swami is there. Well, then 3 people suggested 3 things. So one person says, to arrive at Advaitam, you have to break the mirrors. One person said like that. Then second one says, no. You need not break these mirrors. You close the eyes. Stop perceiving other Swamis. And then you will find only yourself. So if you open the eyes, other 10 Swamis will be there. So don't break mirrors. Just close your eyes. Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi. I am alone there. So that is second. And third one says, you need not destroy mirror, you need not close the eyes. No, all of them are mithya. All of them cannot be affected. They cannot affect you. Mithya pratibimba can't be counted at all with satyabimba. So breaking the mirrors means, destroying this physical world. Dvaitam, destroy them. Of course, it is not possible, but that is also not solution. Then close the eyes and don't perceive other Swamis. Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That is also not solution. Third thing is, keep open your eyes and let the mirrors also be there. Everything be there. Thoughts and mirrors and everything will let there be there. Nothing, don't disturb anything. Just change here. All of them are mithya. You alone are satyam. So not dual. Tena vastam advaitam parisheshat vibhasate. Due to that, you will come to know that vastavam advaitam, a real advaita, non-dual thing, parisheshat. As a remainder, it will be there, shines. 246. Achintya rachana rupam mayaiva sakalam jagat iti nishchitya vastutvam advaite parisheshyatam. So, it is explanation of the previous verse only, this verse also, as important as the previous verse. Sakalam jagat maya eva, whole advaita prapancha, which seems to be an obstacle to this advaitam, is maya, is mithya alone. Achintya rachana rupam. Achintya rachana rupam, it is not available for any category, either real or unreal, etc. So we can't say the thought is real or the world is real. We can't say thought is shunyam or the world is shunyam, asat. That also we cannot say. And therefore, mithya iti nishchitya. And therefore, may you register in your mind this fact about the world and about the thought that it is sadasat vilakshanam, it is mithya. And it is definitely it is available for experience because the basis is consciousness. So consciousness alone lends existence to this every name and form, and therefore it is available for experience, either a thought or either a world. So consciousness is the basis that you understand. You need not close the eyes, need not stop any experiences. Reality of Dvaitam alone is plucked. That reality you place in consciousness. For you, consciousness is not a reality, reality to the, give reality to the consciousness, not to the world. So Advaita means Advaita Chaitanya, on this Chaitanyam, place this reality, which is non-dual. But are not there many Chaitanyams? Are you talking about Abhasa Chaitanyam or Adhar Chaitanyam? Which Chaitanyam? You are not telling anything. Yeah, Abhasa Chaitanyams are many and therefore they are mithya. We are talking about a Chaitanyam which is reality, which is the basis of all, and therefore that is Adhar Chaitanyam. That is Kutastha alone is real. I am just reminding, because in 6th chapter, in the beginning itself, Abhasa Chaitanyam and Adhara Chaitanyam, everything come. And so while Chaitanyam is which Chaitanyam? Adhara Chaitanyam, Kutastha alone is the reality. And so student now, he found that he cannot argue now. But still, for the sake of something, for sake of argument, he says something. He says to teacher, now it's a new thing. In a class, I am able to remove this reality very well. Yeah, Dvaitam is mithya. Yes. And the reality is I place in on a Chaitanya. That is very, very true. But immediately after the class, whatever type of Vyavahara I do, when I enter to Vyavahara, reality goes back to all this world and thoughts and everything. And so I again become samsari. Now tell me how to handle that. How to handle this samsara. For 1 hour I feel that Advaitam is mithya, Advaitam is satyam. So that is the question. And Vidyaranya answers in 247. Punardvaitasya vastutvam bhati chetvam tatha punaha parishilaya ko vatra prayasastena te vada. So everything is fine, in the class. When I go to Vyavahara, then, Dvaitam looks Satyam. What should I do? Vidyaranya says, okay, come to class again. So you have to listen again and again, until it is thoroughly registered in your mind that Dvaitam, Dvaita Mithyatva Nishaya is it remains in your mind. Well, how long will it take? So that is later. So it says Dvaita Vastutvam Punaha Bhati. Student says, moment I enter Vyavahara, all these problems, samsara problems will be there. I feel thought is real, world is real, everything is real. And so Dvaitam overpowers my mind. Thought is real means definitely one thought is different from the other thought. So Dvaitam becomes real. And objects also, one object, second object, I am a subject, that is object, everything duality becomes real. So Dvaita Vastutam Punaha Bhati. So moment I enter the Vyavahara, Dvaita overpowers the mind. Tatha, then Punaha Parishilaya, again make an inquiry. So Punaha Parishilaya means again Vicharam Kuru. Parishilanam means do analysis again and again. That how Dvaitam is mithya, etc. Atrakaha prayasaha. You don't have any expenditure except spending time. So do it again. Pauna punyine shravanam kuryat. So what difficulty you have in repeating or listening again this teaching? Vada, tell that. So there should not be any problem. Listen again and again. He says few more things also that we'll see in a next class. So come to the next class. Pauna punya shravanam kuryat. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.